Did we do the larger bowl? Is that where we left off, son? The larger bowl.
Hey, for some reason, you're only coming out of my left channel.
I thought you
And
were going to say I'm only coming out of your left cheek. Welcome to Backtracking, the show where two old friends take a second listen to influential bands' catalogs track by track. I'm Roth Bagdasarian.
And I'm Dan Fiden. We'll be taking this journey together, providing context, both personal and historical, on some legendary bands. For our first season, we've picked none other than Rush.
All right, Dan. Last week we talked about sides A and B, which was the first disc of Snakes and Arrows by Rush. Did you have a good week?
We did. I had an amazing week. It you know what, Roth, that week went by in a flash. It was
It was like 3 seconds long. It went by like 3 seconds.
I can't even believe it. But Roth, mostly I can't believe that it's already time for us to tackle the second disc of what is, Rafi, the second last studio album that we're going to cover for
I know.
Rush.
After this episode, there's just one more like studio album, right?
That's
that
right.
we're going to. We're going to talk about Feedback, right? Which is technically a studio album, but that's part of the Ephemera episode that's coming up. So Dan, tell them what's coming up. We got 4 more episodes coming up after this.
Oh my God! So we've got this episode, Roth. We're going to knock out Sticks and Arrows. Then we're going to tackle Ephemera. It is going to be
that one doesn't count as a 4. That's this episode. So this episode plus 4 more.
Yeah, this episode.
People who know how to count, you're confusing them. They're going to say, you said 4, you said 5.
You're listening to hey idiot, you're listening to an episode right now. We're not going to count that one. You're already listening to it. The next episode is Ephemera. We are going to cover late career live albums like Rush and Rio, Grace Under Pressure Live. We are going to cover EPs like Feedback. We are going to cover solo records. Both Alex and Getty have done solo records. I'll tell you what we're not going to cover, though, Roth. We're not going to cover Neil Peart's Burning for Buddy albums.
No. Although, you know what? And dude, I listened to Victor yesterday.
Okay.
But I will say this. For the Ephemera episode, we are going to have special guest Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee pending they're listening to this and calling us and saying, hey, we'd like to be a part of that episode. If they do that, then we will have them here on the podcast, Alex and Geddy. Thank you so much. If not, we won't have them. So don't hold us to it. So it's up to them. But special guest potentially, Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee.
Roth, that is exciting for the listeners. That's a really exciting thing that you've just announced. I can't believe it myself. All right. So Roth, after the Ephemera episode, we're going to cover Clockwork Angels, which is another 4-sided album. So that'll be 2 episodes, 2 probably longish episodes, one for each of the records, I guess. Yeah. And then the finale of season 1 of Backtracking, the last official episode that we will do. We may come back with special episodes later on if there's some reason to do that. But the finale of season 1 of Backtracking is going to be our Tournament of Champions, best songs, worst songs, best albums. We're going to wrap it all up. We're going to share what we've learned and call it a day.
And for that episode, we're going to have special guest Ray Daniels and Iron Maiden frontman Bruce Dickinson, provided they listen to the podcast and reach out to us and say, hey, we'd like to be on that episode, and we arrange it. If not, they will not be special guests. I want to be clear about that. But pending their outreach, we will have Ray Daniels and Bruce Dickinson, frontman of Iron Maiden, on our final
Incredible.
episode.
I had no...
Incredible. It really is. That's how much we've grown. That's how popular this podcast has become, that there is a snowball's chance in hell, if the right things happen, if a butterfly flaps its wing the right way, that we will have Ray Daniels, manager of Rush, on our finale, and Bruce Dickinson, Iron Maiden frontman.
Yeah. It's so great to listen to Bruce Dickinson talk about Rush.
Yeah, it would be great for a finale.
It's not something that people get to hear very often, so I think our fans are going to be delighted by Bruce.
Yes, and we will have both major presidential candidates debating at the very end, live on our podcast, provided they accept this invitation and they hear this episode and they reach out to us and make arrangements to be on it.
Yeah. Well, I understand there's a lot of Rush fans within both potential incoming administrations. And so I think whichever way things pan out, you know who the winners are going to be? Rush.
Yes. And we love all Rush fans of all political stripes, despite what I say.
Yeah. All right. So, Rafi, why don't we get into it? Enough of this bullshit, Raf. We've got a lot of songs to cover, and we don't have a lot of time to do it. So,
I got to go play golf too. So I got to get out of here. Go play golf at Mountain Gate.
This is the fucking bougiest shit. Like, Rafi out going out playing golf.
Hey, you know what? Alex Lifeson and his son play golf, and they get fucking arrested playing golf.
Let me go golf in Brentwood with my architect friend. Are you going to twist your mustache while you're doing it, Rob?
All right. Yes, I shall. So the first idea, Danielson.
The first song on side C is, of course, "The Way the Wind Blows," Roth. Yes. 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Leon Lifeson music, pure lyrics. I want to listen to it now. We can only go the way the wind blows. We can only bow today and now, or be broken down blow by
Yeah, this is one of my favorite. I shouldn't say that because you're going to ask me. Anyways,
you can say
love the song. Love the song, baby. Bubby, great song, Bubby. The best.
Is this one of your favorites?
It is. I really like this. I had the most notes on this. It's so. I can't wait to get to the music, but I really like the lyrics. And he's very critical of wishful thinking here. So if we were talking about Neil Peart is starting to develop sort of spirituality or faith, in this song he's going way back to like logic, science, things that you can believe in. And it really is I think you have to put it in the context of the time. We're coming up on the end of like the second, or in the middle of the second George Bush administration. And I think, and again, I hate to get political, but that Neil Peart was influenced by a lot of this, probably more so that he was living in LA and Santa Monica, more so the States, than when he was living in Canada. But this was sort of around the time, I don't know if you recall, when sort of the magical thinking started to happen in politics. And I think he was sort of reacting against that in a way.
Yeah. I really viewed this. I enjoyed the lyrics to this one as well. This is clearly about, I think this is clearly about the Gulf conflict specifically, but he kind of abstracts that out to conflict more generally. But I think it's very difficult to believe that this is not much more directly influenced by the Gulf conflicts that were happening at that time. I mean,
and I think it does go into like the line that sort of evokes that song from Kay Kaiser Orchestra, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. There's a line that says pray and pass the ammunition, right? That's critiquing the hypocrisy of invoking religion while engaging in war, in violent conflict, right? And that's what was really happening. That's what I'm talking about, this sort of magical thinking when, the religious forces started to take over the conservative arm. I mean, it's always been the case to some degree, even in the more liberal arm at one point in time. Yeah. But in this case, it was that dichotomy of you call yourself a man of God, but you deny science, you foment wars, in the name of profit. I'll shut up now. I'll talk about music. Hey, shut up and talk about the fucking music.
But I mean, wouldn't you say, I think there's no question that he is indicting both sides of those conflicts, but I think it would be disingenuous, Roth, to not say that he is indicting the other side of those conflicts as well, right? Like you can kind of say like, oh yeah, the US forces were invoking, the US kind of politicians were invoking religion more than they should have been, given this Middle Eastern conflict and the connections to the Crusades, for example. But I mean, very literally, they were dealing with jihadists, right?
Yeah.
Who are actually fighting a religious war, whether you agree with that or not. Everyone, I think the argument he's making is that, to your point, invoking religion is not the thing to do. And he's clearly talking about the Middle Eastern conflicts that were happening during that time. But what I thought was really interesting about it here is this windblown tree metaphor, right? Uh-huh. a really powerful image. I'm sure you've seen pictures of kind of like the Sonora pines or the Monterey cypress that kind of grow in the northern coast of California. There are lots of other places where trees grow like this, I'm certain, but I'm familiar with those pretty well. And you see them on the coast of the ocean, and over time, when they grow, they get incredibly kind of deformed and tilted and bent by the wind, and they end up growing within that very windy environment in these very interesting shapes, right? And you can see when looking at them how much of an impact the wind has had on their growth. He draws that comparison here. I think it's a powerful image for him to draw, and the way I interpret that is really like, listen, the things that I'm talking about, these religious wars, like, all of this bad stuff that's happening, I think where he concludes this is we don't really have a choice but to be formed by those forces in the world, because those forces appear to be pretty universal. That was what I kind of took from this. Do you disagree with that, Rafi?
No, I agree, but I do think that it is also a critique of the politics of our time. I mean, with like the No Child Left Behind reference, right? There was another reference in there that made sense. Where is it? Hollow speeches of mass deception. It was a mass deception that put us to war in Iraq, right? So I think I think there is a veiled criticism of the political forces that led us into that war. I don't think he's like directly criticizing or implicating, but again, in typical neo-Puritan fashion, he's not saying. He's very softly criticizing it in a way, right? So he's talking very much about, hey, this is what happens. This is human nature. Whether or not we want, and I would say a good example of that is, I'm getting kind of political, not party political, but like when September 11th happened, right? It's a given. You have to go to war. Someone hit us, we got to bomb them back. It's like a given. And did we ever consider that is precisely the response that the terrorists who bombed us wanted, was to get us involved in endless wars in the Middle East, and to drain the coffers instead of spending it on education, instead of having a measured response. We need to show and thump our chest. And that's something that no matter how much you wish that wouldn't be the response of a nation, it has to be, just because that's human nature, whether or not it's the right decision. And I think that's kind of what he's resolved to here, is like,
no, I think that's right. I think that's totally right. This is very much the way that I read this is very much a follow-up to Peaceable Kingdom. And he is acknowledging the lamentable reality of the situation.
100%. I hate saying 100%, but 100%.
100%.
People that just go 100%. 100%.
But can we talk about the music? Because
fuck yeah.
One of the crazy openings of a Rush song ever. It's like they start playing and I'm like, where's this blues?
You know what? It was fucking Stevie Ray Lifeson singing the sweet guitar.
Such an interesting opening to the song.
Never heard him play like that before.
Never.
And he was great. He's got a great bluesy sound.
No, I mean, it really is an interesting, and the thing that I think is also interesting about it is it opens with that, but it changes really quickly. It doesn't
very proggy.
It doesn't like ever totally abandon that a little bit of a bluesy feel almost, but it is not like that opening, which I was like, oh my God, this is like just Rush playing a blues song.
Very blues opening, then a very proggy riff and then the chorus is very folksy. I actually made a comment. I said, this song blows with the wind. And I didn't mean the song blows. I mean, it's like, it is like, it's going all over the place. It's like, you got blues, you got prog, you got folk, you got everything. So but again, it ties together really, really well, and it all makes sense, and it's a cohesive song.
Totally great.
Great vocal melodies, like in the chorus, especially one of my favorite vocal melodies in later Rush done.
And talking about that chorus vocal melody, I had earlier on in the album kind of criticized a little bit Geddy moving into that falsetto. He does it here. Yeah. We can only bow to the here and now. He goes out, Yeah.
And then he goes into that powerful, or be broken down blow by blow. You know what? You also made a comment.
I really like this one, actually.
Yeah, and you made a comment in the second Vapor Trails, or the first Vapor. You made a comment about how one of the songs, and I think we brought up Bastille Day, which is a song that the lyrics sound like the song. I feel that with this in the chorus, right? The vocal melody and everything ties together really, really well.
Completely agree. I think the music for this song, it really takes you on a journey in a way that the early prog songs do. Like it almost feels as though the song has movements. It doesn't have that level of like pretense like some of the early prog stuff does, but there are these sections of the song, they propel you through the song with a lot of interest. And they have their own kind of contained feel frequently, like that intro, the way the chorus has that light, catchy, jangly, kind of jingly feel to it. I mean, I absolutely love this song. And another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about that felt to me like a little bit of a throwback is there's this acoustic guitar breakdown kind of at the end of the song that just immediately evoked, for me, Caress of Steel era Rush. It just felt like, oh my God, this is Alex playing, like this is Alex Caress of Steel, Alex. Yeah. I really liked it.
No, and I've heard that. I said that about the guitar solo from a couple songs ago. There was a lot of classic inspired Rush in this. And you know what was interesting? I was listening to it. It actually inspired me to go back and listen to Caress of Steel just the other day. And I was thinking, like, I mean, a lot of the original, like that early Rush sound, a lot of that sound just had to do with the technology of recording at the time. And I wonder, like, if they were, like, I don't know if you could use AI to do this. It would be so amazing if you could take like an album like this and re-record it with the technology of like 1976 or 75. Like, what would it sound like? Would it sound more like classic Rush? Would it sound the same? Like, what? I don't know, but that's an interesting thought experiment I always sort of fantasize about.
Yeah, no, I think this song is really compelling. This is a really compelling song. It's a terrific way to open up side C of the album.
Absolutely.
And just a great ending. This is another example of, you know, what can you accomplish when you don't do a fade out? It's a great ending. And
again, it's the song. The music is very optimistic for the subject matter, right? It's not like exactly uplifting, but it is uplifting in the sense that, you know, acceptance.
Musically, I think that chorus is really captures when you kind of strip the lyrics away for a second. You can feel in the music of the chorus, it's like this. It feels like accepting. It does. You know what I mean?
And there was that line in Force 10, I think it was, tough times demand tough hearts. Demand tough songs, demand tough songs, demand. And that's, again, a consistent theme of Neil Peart. In the face of adversity, it's not about caving in. It's about resilience and strength. And that alone is so inspiring and optimistic, right? Yeah. Doesn't mean happiness, doesn't mean, you know, you're smiling necessarily, but it's about surviving and growing. And I think that's what it's about. And I think that, honestly, like, I'm touching on something here, but I really think subconsciously or otherwise, that's why I really think that, like, Rush fans are so zealous about the band, because it's not just a band. Like, it really is, and hear me say it, it's like a secular Bible.
It is like a secular Bible, ladies and gentlemen.
No, but it's not just like, oh, you broke up with a girl, and I associate, or I relate to that. Yeah. It really, like, you can relate to these lyrics in your deepest, darkest moments throughout life. And I think that's really what solidifies the bond between Rush fans and the band.
Yeah. I think this is a very, very strong song. But Roth.
Yeah.
Move on. Speaking of hope, we were talking about hope a moment ago. I think we should talk about the song Hope.
That would be a really, really good idea. You know why? Because it's the next song in the album.
It is the next song. It is 2 minutes and 2 seconds long. Do you know who wrote the lyrics, or do you know who wrote the music for this one, Roth?
I suspect it was Alex Stevie Ray Lifeson.
It was Alex Lifeson. Getty just took a fucking break. He went and got a coffee.
What a dick.
You know? Alex just fucking drove this one.
What was Neil doing when he wrote this song?
You know what? Who knows? Probably reading some dorky sci-fi book, that fucking nerd.
Alex, you could do better than those guys.
Right,
come on.
So listen. Let's go ahead with Hope and listen to it right now.
All right, I have just one thing to say about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I have one thing to say about it.
I mean, the band, yes. It's very yes-ish.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Howe. Yeah.
I was like, it doesn't have, it has a very, like a country folky kind of a feel. But for some reason, the first thing I thought of was sunlight dances on the tree.
The breeze, through the trees.
Whatever it was.
Soft wind blows, a quiet
lying in the
warm grass, feel the sun upon your ass.
Yes, exactly.
It should have been ass, but he said face. Anyway.
But right, like it really, I fucking love this. This is the instrumental that should be on the album, right? They've been doing a lot of instrumentals lately, but this is the first one beautiful. Where I was just like, fucking, I love that this is included on the album. I just love it.
Yeah, it's something that you would hear in a Yes album, and they finally wised up to that, and they said, Alex, go do your thing.
So this is like I was trying to think, like, what was the last song in their catalog, the studio catalog, where it's really just like, look, that scene in Animal House where there's the guy playing acoustic guitar on the stairs. Like,
I gave my love a flower that knows no.
Yeah, fucking Bluto comes down and just like smacks. Yeah. Like, I feel like this is like the Rush equivalent of that, but I love it. But like, what was the last song where he really did that in the catalog? I mean, it's been at this, by the time this album is recorded, it's got to be.
I mean, Bruins Bane, but that was not only on a live album. It wasn't officially a part. It was the Trees intro, but it wasn't an actual studio recording. It was just on a live album.
Yeah. Man. Anyway, I just there's not too much to say. I think this definitely has a kind of a throwback feel for Rush a little bit.
Yeah,
not in a negative way. I just think it's great. Love it.
It's perfect position at track number 9 or 8, before the next song, which is called Faithless, which is funny because we've been talking a lot about faith, right? And we could talk about hope, but it's like dancing about architecture. We should just listen to it, and you'll enjoy it. It'll make you very happy. It'll calm you.
Roth.
You know what? Listen to Hope with like a glass of warm milk before bed, and you'll have the best night's sleep ever.
Warm milk. It's like one of those things that, like, when I was a kid, like, warm milk was a thing that people still did. That's how old I am. I don't know. Maybe they still do it now, but it just seems impossibly old fashioned to me. When I think about someone serving me milk at all, but fucking warm milk, I want to like throw up immediately. It's like the grossest thing.
It's warm milk because it feels like it came fresh out of the udder.
I'd rather have it fresh out of the udder, if you know what I mean.
If someone really loves you, they'll take a little like packet of bacteria and pour it in there.
God,
all right, so next song, number 9. This is called Faithless. It's track number 9 off of Snakes and Arrow. It comes in at 5 minutes 31 seconds. Let's give it a look-see-loo.
I don't have faith in faith. I don't believe in belief. You can call me faithless,
Faithless. I mean, listen, if we're going to dig into the lyrics, the first thing you've got to acknowledge is this is classic atheistic Neil Peart. This is a song. I would argue that this is the most directly atheistic kind of anthem since Free Will.
Yeah. But what's interesting though is as we're listening to this album, we've been saying, is Neil Peart finding faith? Is it?
I know, right?
And here he's like basically saying, I'm going to pull off the mask and I'll tell you where I stand. Like that's what's happening with this. And he is, but he also says, he also says stuff like, I believe in love and that's faith enough for me. So he is acknowledging, yes, he does have faith, right?
Yeah.
He has faith in love.
I think there is unlike I've contrasted a lot of lyrics to Free Will because I think that Free Will is very much kind of fist in the air atheism and like just fully self-confident. There's more of a weathered feel to this that feels like an older man saying essentially the same things as Free Will, but acknowledging that it isn't always easy to hold that belief, and it can. That can be a struggle for a few different reasons. And I really like that weathered, mature feel and tone of these lyrics.
He has the wisdom of humility and accepting that, there are a lot of things that can't be explained that you do have to take on faith. Love being chief among them. So I think it's still very consistent with what we've been gleaning and hearing from previous songs on this album and previous album. So I don't think it's like out of the blue. Oh my God, he's an atheist. He doesn't, But it's like, as we were talking about earlier, is that we see him sort of, being humbled before these things that he's now contemplating that he can't posit an explanation for them. And you can always sense that what's always saved him was love. Right. And he's not like, you have to take that on faith. You can't quantify it. That's what he tried to do with his journey, right? And you just cannot quantify it.
Yeah. I will say, though, in terms of humility and self-awareness, small note, I'm just going to put it out there for you.
Mm-hmm.
I did feel as though the I will quietly resist line lacks a little bit of self-awareness. I mean, prior to like the new atheists and Dawkins and Sam Harris and all that kind of stuff, within pop culture in North America generally, Neil Peart might have been the most well-known outspoken atheist in North America, right? North American culture. So quietly resist is not, I mean, he's literally writing that he's quietly resisting in a song that's going to appear on a fucking Rush album. You know what I mean?
He probably wrote, I will resist. He could have said openly. I was going to say he needed like a 3-syllable word. He could have said, I will openly resist.
Yeah. That was the only, if there was any quibble about this one, it would be that quibble. It's a minor quibble, but But it's a very uplifting song, I thought. Again, a lot of these songs are reflective of the fact he had a new love in his life. He had a new life. Yeah.
In the band, the band was still going strong. Their friendships were still strong. That the distance between them, the geographic distance, didn't really, if anything, it could have made them grow closer, right?
I mean, listen, just considering the output of this album, whatever it was, that distance seemed to work for something. It's such a good album. You know what I mean? It's
because they're doing it because they want to, not because they feel a pressure or need to. And I think that is really comes through in the lyrics and the songwriting. Yeah.
All right. So, Ralph, can we talk about the music here for a little bit?
Yes.
I really thought it was interesting, and I may get these time signatures wrong, but I really like they did this kind of it felt to me like a 6/4 in the verses into a 4/4. It could have been like a 6/8 or something, but there was this interesting kind of time change and feel change between the verses and the choruses that I really enjoyed. What about this music did you enjoy, if anything?
I really enjoyed the vocal harmonies in this, because they don't always do that in Rush. And I found them doing it more on this album than in previous albums, but I found them really enjoyable.
Yeah.
That was one thing I liked about it. Another thing I liked about it was the opening riff was really, really, really awesome. it really set up the tone for this song right out of the gate. And it was actually really refreshing to hear this sort of acceptance of joy in the music and the lyrics. I almost feel like everything that was in this album, it was leading up to this song. Like it does feel that this is sort of like a tentpole of the album. It's very personal in a way that we haven't seen Neil be this personal in an uplifting way. What gives him joy. And, it was good. I liked it. I dug it.
Yeah. Yeah. I will, this is pretty consistent for me. My last little comment on the music here. I love the guitar solo in this one. This is more of a classic Alex Lifeson, or what I think of as a classic Alex Lifeson guitar solo. But I really, really like that. I think that the guitar work on this album across the board is great. But more than that, I just think it's so interesting. And there's so many interesting things that he does on the album. And this is like another one of those places I really was into it.
Yeah.
All right. So Roth. Is it time? Is it time for us to move on to side D?
Let's do it.
Of this album. We're fucking bringing this thing in for a goddamn landing, like a couple.
Yeah. Fuck really, let's land this motherfucker.
Pilot, like excellent commercial. You will be the co-pilot. I will be the main pilot, though. Okay.
You will be the captain, and I will draw the charts.
That sounds perfect, Rob.
All right, what's the next song, Dan? Track number 10. Tell us about it. Sing it.
Bravest Face, 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Why don't we just give it a shot?
Though we might have precious little, it's still precious. In the sweetest child, there's a vicious streak. In the strongest man, there's a child so weak. In the whole wide world, there's no magic place. So you might as well rise, put on your bravest face. Put on your bravest face.
Okay. What do you want to get into first? Why don't we talk about lyrics? That seems to be the thing that we usually do.
I love the opening line, the way he sings it.
Yeah.
Though we might have precious little, it's still precious. It just gets to the meat of the song, like right off the bat. And you're like, ooh, tell me more, Ged.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that this is kind of a classic Peartian lyrical structure in that there is there's an overarching theme, but then he just enumerates again and again lots of kind of contrasting couplets that reinforce that theme, the basic theme, right? So clearly, sweetest child, vicious streak, strongest man, child so weak, right? And it goes on and on. And I think that's something that Peart tends to do, pretty frequently across his career.
And again, it's a song of resilience. It's basically saying shit happens and you got to deal with it. I mean, it's and I do love I could picture Neil like driving his car, one of his silver Aston Martins. I love that song. It's about this wonderful world. It's got a sunny point of view. Sometimes I feel it's true, at least for a few of us. Yeah. And it's he's basically saying, all that fantasy is nice, but for most of us, that's not the case. So what's interesting is these songs of resolve and resilience, these themes that he explores on this album, musically, they're very like happy and upbeat. Like it's kind of like, smiling as you're getting punched in the cock, and saying this is just going to make me stronger. Yeah. So it really is. It's interesting. It's uplifting in a non-traditional way. Like if
I think that I generally agree with you, although I would still say that I feel like kind of latter Peart, the past few albums certainly, and I think it's true here. There is this slightly dark, slightly pessimistic streak that didn't exist. in the earlier albums, right? So I think he's articulating the same thing that you just captured really, really well, Ralph, right? This is about resilience. It's about like, you know, life throws you, you know, lemons and you got to make lemonade basically, right? But like there is this little bit of cynicism or pessimism that just wasn't there as much in the early Rush albums. I think the stanzas that really kind of like capture this super well, as he just says, I like that story, makes a satisfying case, but there's a messy point of view that's sadly just as true for many among us, right? And that is a thing that, you know, totally true. It acknowledges the reality of the world, but it accepts that reality in a way that I think that earlier Peart maybe is less accepting of.
Yes, I do think that. Yes, I don't disagree with that. But I think that it's sort of tied thematically to this album. So for me, in the context of this album, when I heard this, it wasn't sticking out as much as previous songs that might have explored these subjects.
Yeah.
So, but what was more interesting to me, though, was if you're okay moving on to the music, is the music.
Yes.
So first of all, as you're well aware, I'm a huge Mark Knopfler fan, and I found this solo in this to be very Mark Knopfler inspired to the point where I think he was actually playing with his fingers. Like I think he was finger picking the guitar solo.
Yeah. Yeah, it is such an unusual guitar solo for him, but really, again, this is another one of these places where I just think that Leifson is being so experimental on this album and doing so many different things, and he pulls off so many of them so well. It's just really a delight to hear this solo, but it's completely strange. Like it, you know what I mean?
The whole song is kind of strange, but it works. Like I mean, even the chord progression in the verses is very. Like it's all sorts of weird, like 6th and 7th chords, 9th chords, and it's just sort of this pulsing sort of string of non-conventional chords.
Do you okay? So to talk about those verses for a second, I just want to ask you a question. It is like weirdly kind of like my notes are like acoustic, off kilter. Almost has a Foo Fighters feel again. Am I totally projecting?
No, I feel Foo Fighters in the chorus. In the whole wide world, there's no secret. There's no secret place. Is it? No magic place. So you might as well rise, put on your break. That's totally Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's, I mean, maybe I'm crazy and I'm just projecting, but it does feel to me like there's some Foo Fighters influence on this album.
It does, and I wouldn't disagree with that. But this another song that has a lot of very disparate parts to it.
Yeah,
very disparate sort of vibes and sounds, but really works well together. Very bluesy too. Like, I mean, at the end of the song, like the way Geddy's singing, put on your bravest face, like he's singing very bluesy. So they definitely tapped into a bit of their bluesy, inner sort of blues singers.
Inner blues man.
Yeah.
Inner bloosers.
Yeah.
All right. So, Raf, should we go ahead and move on? Good news first.
Yeah, give me the good news first.
First, Rafi. The good news first is that it's 4 minutes and 51 seconds long. The next bit of good news for you, Rafi, is the music was written by Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, and the lyrics were written by Neil Peart. Why don't we please fucking press the play button?
Click.
Okay, Raf.
Dan.
Yeah, lyrics. Okay, I am just going to throw out to you my interpretation of this song. It may be way too literal, and I'd like for you to tell me if you think that's the case. But my interpretation is this is in a very literal way Neil saying to his new wife, basically, in the wake of some bad news of some variety, he's basically saying to her, I told you so. The universe sucks and is kind of unfair. and is also simultaneously apologizing for that level of kind of scarring and pessimism and fear he may have as a result of what he's gone through over the past, decade or so. And in summary, I feel like this is very much a song about Neil recovering from the deaths of his wife and daughter, contextualized by his relationship with a new wife. I felt like that is the song.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you took it a step deeper by applying it to his relationship with his new wife, but there's definitely a sense of like grappling with the tension between like hope and the inevitability of bad news. And I think you hear that in this album too, because there's a lot of hopeful songs and there's a lot of bad news as well.
Yeah. And I mean, in that way, it really is. Snakes and Arrows is like a really appropriate title for the album.
Absolutely. I mean, it's sardonic, weary lyrics, but it's done on the canvas of, upbeat kind of music. And I think that this song is sort of the key to the album. Like, it makes you understand why they're singing these songs that are lyrically are kind of dark and sort of resigned that shit happens. But the music is, rocking or upbeat or happy.
Yeah. Okay, Raf. So let's talk about this music. My feeling is this is one of the more straightforward, jangly rock songs on the album. There's not that much progginess in here.
Yeah. I actually said really interesting and experimental, right? And I wish Rush would lean in that direction. Like, what I heard in this song was yet again a prototype of what Rush could become in the future. And I really love the chorus of this, right? But this was, and I think that even in Clockwork Angels, we're going to hear some stuff that's prototypical Rush. But what excited me about the music and just this song, more broadly, is that I heard something new and prototypical about Rush's direction in this song. So if you want to think about where Rush might have gone 2-3 albums, had they gone beyond Clockwork Angels, I think Good News First is a good sort of a foundation on which to jump into where Rush could have gone. In fact, I would even take a step further, and I would say, if it is true that Alex and Geddy are going to be, experimenting or doing something again, either as Rush or together, we might want to look at this song to see if there's some ideas or things that we can hear from this song that are going to make their way into future projects.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think about this one, Ralph. Yeah. All right. Well, should we knock into the final instrumental on the album?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you give it a little intro?
Okay, this one, because it's all about me, man, and that's why I should be introducing Malignant Narcissism. Is that why? Is that why you wanted me to do it?
I didn't think about that.
Of course it is. And it's a short song because Dan thinks I have a short penis, so it's 2 minutes, 17 seconds long. Sure, Malignant Narcissism. Let's give it a listen. Whatever.
All right, Roth, the final instrumental on this album. I'm going to talk about the lyrics first. Okay. There are lyrics in this. There's a clip from a movie in this song. You want to know what movie it's from?
Rosebud?
It is from the movie Team America World Police.
Really?
Yeah, that was, of course, produced by Matt Stone, Trey Parker. Yeah, Trey Parker.
I have a brief anecdote about that. So in 2003,
hold the fucking anecdote for what? I mean, it's fucking. Let me guess. They were getting coffee at the place around the.
No, go ahead.
Okay, but I when I read about where tried to find where that clip was from. The band were huge fans of South Park, and Trey Parker and Matt Stone were huge Rush fans. They met at some point along the way prior to this song being done. And so they, Neil called one of them and said, "Hey, we want to use this clip in their song." And they were like super delighted by it. Anyway, that's
cool.
of the back history of that.
All right. Well, it's all about me, Dan. Malignant narcissism. Remember.
Rob,
So let's
tell
put it
me
back
about.
on me.
Let me guess. You were at a party with major celebs.
No, this is actually pretty interesting. So in 2003, I made a short film, and in the short film, we had to have like a little like a dummy, like a wooden ventriloquist dummy. It took place in like 1910 or something, and the production designer was dating Norm Tempia, who did the puppets for Team America after the one we did. So my puppet was built in the same workshop that all the Team America World Police puppets were made. So I 2 degrees of Rush.
I don't want to hear anything else about your Muppet, Rafi. It's not that kind of show. All right, music. I have nothing to say about this one. I found this song to be unremarkable, and frankly, I felt like it should not be included on the album.
I had 2 comments, Dan. The first was another instrumental, and the second one, good. That was it.
Good. You like it? I mean, I thought I would go back to like, Where's My Thing? I felt like even this one was probably better than Where's My Thing and Leave That Thing Alone. I just did not like those instrumentals at all. But I just did. This is probably the one song on the album that I would have preferred they left off.
Yeah, it was good. I honestly, I can't think of anything else to say about it. It was good. I mean, I could be like, you remember that part where it goes like this, and then this part?
This is C- work. C maybe.
Yeah, I mean C+, B- on a good day, but yeah, it's good.
Oh, well, I guess we can see who's the fucking easy grader over here.
I know it feels like a cop out, but get your fucking lazy asses off the couch and go listen to it.
Everybody. All right,
go listen to it, and you'll be like, yeah, Rafi was right. It's good.
All right, so listen. Final song on this album, Raf.
Yes.
Relish this because we're not going to do this too many more times. This song is called We Hold On. It is 4 minutes and 13 seconds long. Let's give it a listen.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
We hold on. They put it at the end for a reason. Why do you think they put it at the end? Do you have any ideas on that?
I don't have an idea of why they put it in the end. Why don't you tell me what your idea is?
I think it's because it's the most literal representation of what is clearly the theme of this album, which is resilience in the face of adversity. Yeah. And I mean, just even the name of it, We Hold On, right? And it recurs. Yeah. It's a recurring line. It's about continuing striving for goals, dreams, ideals, whatever it may be. And I think that it's at the end of this album because they want people to walk away from the album remembering, no matter how bad things get, you're still here. Yeah. Right. And as long as you're still here, there's still hope.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
No, that's it.
So my interpretation was a little bit darker. This song struck me as very pessimistic. I'm going to say some things here, Raf. I'm going to take you through a series of comments that you may have some real issues with, but I just bear with me until I get to the end of it. So this song struck me as very pessimistic. It felt to me like it was more saying, why do we hold on? We hold on kind of against all logic in some ways, right? Like, how many times do we chafe against the repetition, straining against a fate measured out in coffee breaks, right? Yeah. This is like a very dark lamentation of just the workaday world and unhappiness with that. How many times do we swallow our ambitions, long to give up the same old way, find another road to take, right? This is very much like why don't we go and do the crazy thing? And yet he says throughout it, but we keep on doing the same shit. We just fucking just tough it out. And so in that way, when I was reading these lyrics, I was like, Jesus, this song is almost the exact opposite of a Jimmy Buffett song. Okay. Jimmy Buffett's, I think, music is like, or the lyrics, right? The thing that has kind of made him popular, or like a song like Changes in Latitude, Changes in Attitude, for example, which I know you like me. Like, these are songs about like, they're the story of a guy who like had the life measured out in coffee breaks and said, fuck it, and moved to the Florida Keys and went like fishing for the rest of his life. You know what I mean? And I think it's one of the reasons that like people really like have this association with Jimmy Buffett of like, you know, the whole Margaritaville thing is based on people, I think, doing those jobs, the coffee break jobs up north someplace, who never actually pull the ripcord and go and move to Florida and do nothing.
Can I just paint a picture of who's saying this? It's a man in his house in Hawaii who's probably going to go out and have a drink on his tiki bar, literally wearing a Jimmy Buffett t-shirt as he's saying this.
It's true.
But he knows what he's talking about.
I'm totally acknowledging that. It's a little ridiculous, but I'm just saying that's how I interpreted it, right? Like, anyway, do you kind of like...
No, and that's an interesting take. In fact, I want to go slip my wrist as soon as we close out this podcast because I was thinking it was like positive, and it's like, yeah, he's right. Why the fuck do we hold on?
No, it should be called Don't Hold On Anymore.
So yeah, great. Thanks for joining us, people. Hope we didn't fuck up your life too badly. I know you just probably came out of therapy and you're like, I'm going to listen to the latest episode of Dan Rafi's podcast, and you're going to be like, all that money for nothing. So let's fuck the lyrics. Let's talk about the music. Okay. So I love Alex's clean guitar sound on this whole album, but especially in this song. I love it. It's just, it's like so crisp. It's like Zima. It's like an ice cold Zima on a hot day. It is
like an ice cold Zima, Raf. You know what? You are absolutely right there. My primary comment as well was also about Alex. Again, I felt like the guitar solo.
Yeah.
This song is so weirdly atmospheric, but so interesting, and it just works so well. I just feel like Alex somehow fucking became the superstar of this album. It is just awesome.
Yeah, and you know how we were talking with Vapor Trails, how it was like frenetic, and it just this had some frenetic moments and sections, but they were cleaner, they were tighter, they were better orchestrated, and they worked way better than they did on Vapor Trails. And I was like, aha, this is what they were going for. And this was like the fully realized vision of that. That's kind of what I felt sonically, musically. Yeah. And then it even rocks, towards the end, right? With that ride cymbal that Neil's playing. Yeah. So I think it's a great closer. I actually think it's a really great way to close the album.
Rafi, completely agree.
They even go with a Mixolydian mode. I think it's a Mixolydian mode, right?
It feels like we're kind of at the end. Should we now go to what everyone loves to do when they listen to this podcast? They love to play along. They love to say what they think their favorite song is, what they think the worst song is, and they also like to guess, what is Rafi going to say? How is he? What are his picks going to be? So Rafi, let's not make them wait any longer. Let's give them the satisfaction that they want. I want for you to tell all of our many, many fans what the best song on this album was.
I'm going with what the people have chosen, and I think there's a reason for it, but the one that reminds me of the album, the one that I reached to first, not just because it's track number 1, but Far Cry is my favorite off the album.
Wow, Rafi, you know what? There are a lot of choices. I found this one to be incredibly difficult. There are so many good songs on the album. It is a consistently terrific album, in my opinion. And so it was tough to pick a favorite song. But I'm happy to report, Rafi, I am happy to report that you got it right. The best song on this album is Far Cry.
Woohoo!
Okay, Amen. So now, Rafi, for the really big money, what is the worst song on the album?
I'm going to say Malignant Narcissism because it's not necessary. It did the least for me. It's not that I didn't like it, it just did the least for me.
Yeah, I am going to I'm going to disagree with you on that one, although I think that is a very strong choice. I said The Main Monkey Business was the worst song on the album.
Interesting. Okay.
And I will tell you why. It is only because I feel like it is unnecessary and it's long, or it's relatively long, right? I mean, it is a 6-minute song, which makes it one of the longer songs on the album.
Yeah.
I think there's enough to substantiate 6 minutes. And frankly, I just don't think it's necessary on the album. If they were to, I think at most they should have included one instrumental on the album. And clearly that one instrumental should have been, Rafi?
Hope. So listen, is it, I know it's a little unorthodox, but can I change mine to The Main Monkey Business?
You can if you want.
All right, let's do it. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about the length of it. And you're right. I would rather have Malignant Narcissism on this and have the album be 4 minutes shorter than have The Main Monkey Business. So, okay, I stand corrected. Dan convinced me. Don't ever expect it to happen again, but The Main Monkey Business.
We are in agreement. Rafi, can I just say it's been another delight. It has been an absolute delight spending this time with you. I'm sure that our many listeners feel the same way.
It's been a delight. It's only 1:30, so it's been an afternoon delight.
I know. I want to get you out there so you don't miss your tea time. Okay.
Hear that, Rammer? All right.
So why don't we just close it out? Tell them how to get in touch with us, Roth.
Yeah, and I say this as I just saw a New York Times news alert that said X was banned from Brazil because their delusional founder refused to obey a court order. But we are on X as Backtracking Rocks, so long as X remains as a platform and Elon Musk doesn't drive it into the ground any more than he has. We're on Instagram as Backtracking Rocks, ROX. Our email is backtrackingrocks@gmail.com. And you could just shout out your window, yoo-hoo, Backtracking Rocks, where are you guys? And if we're within earshot, we'll come running with a Rush ale and maybe some vodka, and we could sit and we can talk about Rush and drink some booze. Hit that subscribe button, share it wherever you get podcasts. Share this podcast with your friends, with your Rush friends, with your friends who hate Rush. Try to convert them. And anytime you subscribe, like, share, comment, it really helps the algorithm raise us up and lift us up out of poverty. So we would really appreciate it if you do that. Dan, anything to add?
When I can stand on mountains, you lift me up.
Thank you so much, folks. Right. And we hope you enjoyed the episode.
It's been great. Rafi, it's been great. Everyone, it's been great. Rush.
Countdown to 4 more.
This is an A- album, Rush. A-.
And that's pretty damn good considering where you are in your career. And so next week we'll be back with the ephemera and sorted all sorts. We'll talk about that. I'm looking forward to that, Dan.
All right, Ralph. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.